All right, can everybody hear me?
Yeah!
What about in the back? Awesome. All right, to start this off, you know, usually people say a joke or something like this, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to begin this lecture. But first of all, I would like to say, I'm not saying it was aliens. But, and I won't say the rest. But, wow, I mean, there's 400 people in here. So thank you very, very much. So thank you very much. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to do my little presentation, and then we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. So write down your questions or whatever. And after that, I promise you, every one of you, if you want to take a picture with me, I will do that. Every one of you. And if you want me to sign the magazines or whatever, I'll do that, of course, too. We'll set up a little table over here, but everybody will leave very satisfied tonight. Oh, I'm listening to them. Absolutely. All right, so we are inherently a species of explorers. That's who we are. Because otherwise, at the time, during the Dark Ages, when the one big issue was that the Earth was flat, none of the other continents would have ever been discovered. Because, you know, we all know that there was other civilizations all around the world. However, when the Spaniards and the Portuguese were looking out on that horizon, they were wondering, all right, so the Earth is flat, but you know what? Let's board our ships and go check it out. And so they boarded their magnificent sail ships. They went out there, and some of them went over the edge. Well, not really. We all know what happened. And so the one thing that sets us apart from the animal kingdom, I mean, we're all animals anyway, biologically speaking, but the one thing that sets us apart is that our trait for curiosity. And yes, cats are curious, however, we are more intelligent than cats. And so, you know, that is why we have explored all the land masses of Earth. The next step will be to explore the ocean floors, which we are doing, of course, right now as well. But ultimately, what we will do is we will explore space. And that's where we're headed, because we are explorers. And I'm aware that the moon program ended 30, 40 years ago, and that NASA no longer exists virtually, and that the space shuttle program was shut down, and so on and so forth. But the future of space travel will be in the private sector. And so at first, we'll complete the International Space Station, and then we'll come up with a new type of a shuttlecraft. And these are pictures right here that NASA has released recently about their idea of returning to the moon in about 10 to 20 years. And it's essentially, you know, if you hold on 1 second, see, there's a laser pointer in my bag, so I need to take that out. And that just goes to show you that I didn't think right, because I knew so many people were going to be here. So hold on. All right, so what else can I do to get applause? Anyway. So if you look at the diagram right here, you'll see these rockets over here, and it's basically the Apollo program on steroids. I mean, that's all it is. And you know, to me, that's also a bit interesting, because here we are, you know, 40 years later, And that's all we could come up with so far. I mean, it's very interesting to see the quote-unquote progress. But that's beside the point. Eventually, we will return to the moon, and that is for, different factors of why. Resources, raw materials that we need here on Earth, or just for the sake of exploration, because we, as I said before, are the species of explorers. We always want to know what's out there. And yes, I'm aware that, many people are pushing for a unmanned space exploration with robots and with, unmanned ships and things like that. And we will most definitely do that. However, the future does lie that we will be part of these explorations, because in the end, it's our human brain that can react to the circumstances that we're in, and not some robot that is, controlled from here remotely. So, as with everything, we will start out small, with a small base on the moon that will eventually grow larger. And from there, we'll go to Mars. And the same thing will happen there, that we will go there with small equipment, and then we will build larger structures. And mind you, none of this is going to happen personally, I don't think, in our lifetime. This is something, that maybe will take 500 years. So that's definitely something I would like you to keep in mind. Now, after we go to Mars, what will be the next, quote-unquote, natural step? Well, we'll go to outer space, and we will explore deep space. Now, the debunkers have this one great argument that they always hurl at me, saying, well, there's no way that we can traverse the distances between the stars, because the stars and the galaxies, or not the galaxies, but the stars themselves, the solar systems, are so far apart that there is no way that we can go from point A to point B. And they are wrong. Because tonight when you go home, I want you to Google Generation Starship. And a Generation Starship is something that you're looking at right here, which is obviously a computer rendition, which means that you have this giant wheel that can be built in the zero gravity of space, kind of like in Star Trek, and this wheel essentially will turn on its own axis, thus creating artificial gravity. And that means that by having artificial gravity, all those other quote-unquote problems that we have regarding, being in zero gravity and floating around and then having the loss of bone mass and things like that, those are very serious problems that we're facing right now with our astronauts who are in the ISS right now, International Space Station. But by creating artificial gravity, you don't even need any exotic, secret alien technology. You can just have this wheel that goes on its own, that turns on its own axis, because what you'll have is, by this turning around, you can basically just imagine your clothes in the washer during the spin cycle. They're pushed against the walls of the drum, and therefore you can create, if you imagine that this room is part of a giant wheel that turns slowly on its own axis, you create artificial gravity, so you can have potentially a living habitat in outer space. Now, mind you, none of these things here are, I did not invent those things. This is all stuff that has been presented by astrophysicists, by rocket scientists, so very smart people who know what they're doing. Now, the reason why this is called a Generation Starship is because, let's say you have a crew of 100 that board this ship. They will die on that ship, on the journey. And so they will procreate on that ship. And so only the 6th, 7th, 8th, or even 10th or 20th generation will arrive at the destination planet. And like this, the astrophysicist by the name of Michael T. Savage, he proposed that if you arrive at a destination planet, and if we can do this, we will have the capability of doing the following: if we build another generation spaceship there, and then 2 ships go out, and then they also arrive at a destination planet, and then they also build another ship, you have 4, and then 8, and 16, so it's the snowball principle. You can conceivably colonize our entire galaxy in 11 million years. Now, I am aware that is a crap load of time. But in the chronology of the universe, it's a blip. It's nothing, 11 million years. And so, with the concept, and this is not an exotic concept, this is very nuts and bolts, very simple stuff that we have the blueprints for,